Imagine it's April 6, 2025, a Sunday morning, kissed by the tentative warmth of a Swedish spring, the day after Agnetha Faltskog's 75th birthday, when a headline slices through the quiet hum of the internet like a bolt of lightning. Agnetha Faltskog finally breaks silence on Bjorn Ulvaeus. For over 40 years, Agnetha, the luminous blonde whose voice breathed life into ABBA's glittering catalog, think Dancing Queen, The Winner Takes It All, Mamma Mia, has held her tongue on Bjorn Ulvaeus, her former husband, co-creator, and the lyrical mind behind songs that doubled as windows into their souls. Her silence, a fortress built after their 1980 divorce and ABBA's 1982 collapse. This moment, whether it unfolds in a rare sit-down with a trusted Swedish outlet like Svenska Dagbladet, a handwritten letter posted to her long-dormant website, or a soft-spoken recording shared with the world, would be seismic, a rupture in the stoic veneer of a woman who's spent decades retreating from fame's relentless gaze, choosing instead the tranquility of her Eckerö farm, where the bleating of sheep and the rustle of leaves have replaced the roar of adoring crowd. Bjorn, meanwhile, has been the more voluble half of this once inseparable pair, sharing anecdotes about ABBA's heyday, his creative process, and his life after Agnetha marrying Lena Kallershow in 1981, a union that lasted until their 2022 separation, a shift that might have nudged Agnetha to reflect anew on their shared past. Their story begins long before the sequins and spotlights in the quieter corners of mid-20th century Sweden, two lives destined to intertwine through music, love, and eventual heartbreak. Agnetha Anna Faltskog was born on April 5, 1950 in Jönköping, a small industrial town in southern Sweden, to Knut Ingvar Faltskog, a department store manager with a flair for amateur theater, and Birgit Margareta Johansson, a homemaker whose gentle encouragement shaped Agnetha's early years. By age 6, she'd written her first song, Två små troll, Two Little Trolls, a whimsical tune hummed on a piano her father brought home, her precocity hinting at the star she'd become. She taught herself to play, her fingers dancing over the keys, and by her teens, she was performing with the Bernt Enghart Orchestra, a local dance band, her voice a clear, emotive soprano, captivating audiences in smoky halls until 1967, when at 17, she penned and recorded Jagvarsa, I Was So in Love, a tender ballad that soared to #1 in Sweden, marking her as a rising talent, her blonde hair and shy smile already turning heads. Bjorn Ulvaeus entered the world 5 years earlier, on April 25, 1945, in Gothenburg, a bustling port city on Sweden's west coast. Born to Ina and Gunnar Ulvaeus, a paper mill worker whose practical nature Bjorn inherited alongside a restless creative streak. As a boy, he plucked at a guitar, forming skiffle groups with schoolmates, his lanky frame and quick wit making him a natural leader, and by the early 1960, he'd joined the Hootenanny Singers, a folk pop ensemble that caught the ear of Stig Andersson, a music impresario who'd later manage ABBA. Bjorn's path crossed Benny Andersson's in 1966, the two bonding over Beatles records and late-night jams, their partnership laying the groundwork for something monumental. But it was in May 1968, during a TV taping in a Stockholm studio, that Bjorn met Agnetha, their eyes locking across a crowded set, her quiet grace a counterpoint to his confident charm, a shared glance that promised more than just music. By 1969, they were a couple, their romance unfolding in Stockholm's bohemian corners, coffee shops, record stores, cramped apartments where Bjorn strummed melodies and Agnetha harmonized, their voices blending like silk and steel, a synergy that felt fated. They married on July 6, 1971, in Verum, a tiny village church swarmed by fans and photographers, Agnetha in a flowing white gown, Bjorn in a sharp suit, their vows drowned out by cheers, a union that birthed two children, Linda Eline in February 1973 and Christian Peter in December 1977, and a musical juggernaut that would conquer the world. That juggernaut took form in 1972, when Agnetha and Bjorn teamed with Benny and Annie Frid Lyngstad, Frida, Benny's partner and a powerhouse vocalist in her own right, to create ABBA, an acronym of their first names, a quartet whose chemistry was as potent as their ambition. Their early singles is Your Brother. hinted at potential, but it was April 6, 1974, exactly 51 years before this imagined 2025 moment, that they exploded onto the global stage, winning Eurovision in Brighton, England, with Waterloo, a rollicking pop gem sung in English and Swedish, its victory lap, a coronation for Sweden's new royalty. What followed was a torrent of success. Albums like Ring Ring, 1973, Waterloo, 1974, ABBA, 1976, The Album, 1977, Voulez Vous, 1979, Super Trooper, 1980, and The Visitors, 1981. Each a masterclass in melody and emotion, Agnetha's voice a golden thread through Bjorn and Benny's intricate arrangements. Hits like SOS, Fernando, Take a Chance on Me, and Chiquitita cementing their reign, their glittery costumes and synchronized moves of visual feast, their sound a universal language of joy and yearning. Behind the scenes, though, Agnetha and Bjorn's marriage bore the strain. Grueling tours took them to Australia, Japan, the US, their children left with nannies, paparazzi hounding their every step, the pressure to churn out hits relentless, and by 1977, fissures emerged. Late-night arguments over schedules, creative control, Agnetha's longing for home clashing with Bjorn's drive to push forward. She'd later described fame as a double-edged sword, exhilarating on stage, suffocating off it, her shyness misread as coldness, her need for privacy at odds with ABBA's public machine, while Bjorn thrived in the chaos, his analytical mind plotting their next triumph. By Christmas 1978, they separated, their divorce finalized in July 1980, a split that rocked fans who'd seen them as pop's golden couple, yet ABBA endured for 2 more albums, Super Trooper and The Visitors, their music darkening, The Winner Takes It All, a raw elegy to their end. Bjorn's lyrics, I don't want to talk about things we've gone through, sung by Agnetha with a trembling intensity that left audiences breathless, a performance she'd later call the hardest thing I ever did. Her tears real, her heart laid bare. When ABBA disbanded in December 1982, after a final TV appearance, their breakup was less a bang than a whisper. The quartet drifting apart, Agnetha retreating to Stockholm, then Eckerö, raising Linda and Peter, her solo career flickering with albums like Wrap Your Arms Around Me, 1983, and I Stand Alone, 1987, her voice still pristine but her output sporadic, her life a deliberate step back from the frenzy, while Bjorn soared, co-writing chess with Benny and Tim Rice, a 1984 musical hit, and managing ABBA's legacy, his remarriage to Lena Kaller show, a new chapter, their daughters Emma and Anna born in the 1918s, his public persona polished, pragmatic, a stark contrast to Agnetha's retreat. Her silence on Bjorn became legendary. Her 1996 book, As I Am, co-authored with Brita Aman, peeled back layers revealing the loneliness of post-divorce years, the terror of a 1983 stalker, the strain of fame's microscope, but Bjorn remained a shadow, unnamed, her pain universalized rather than personalized, a choice that left fans hungry, combing lyrics like One of Us for clues, building myths on X and forums, some clinging to a fantasy of lost love, others seeing her withdrawal as proof of bitterness, though she'd insist it was survival. Bjorn in interviews painted their split as inevitable, a love outgrown by circumstance, though he'd confess the oddity of hearing Agnetha sing his post-divorce words. Their connection, unbroken in art if not life, a thread that held until 2021, when ABBA stunned the world with Voyage, their first album in 40 years, tracks like Don't Shut Me Down and I Still Have Faith in You, proving their magic endured, their voices seasoned, their bond professional yet poignant. The ABBA Voyage hologram concerts in London, a $175 million 0-cent spectacle, reviving their 1917 selves, Agnetha's avatar twirling in a silver cape, Bjorn's grinning beside her, a triumph that bridged generations. Agnetha called it a gift to ourselves, her reserve thawing, while Bjorn dissected the tech, their reunion a testament to their legacy, not their romance. Yet it set the stage for this imagined 2025 reckoning. Picture Agnetha now, in her Eckerö sanctuary, a wooden house nestled among pines, the Baltic Sea glinting in the distance, her silver hair catching the light as she sits with a journalist. Perhaps SVT's Karina Bergfeldt, her hands clasped, her voice low but firm. I've waited long enough. I owe this to myself, to the fans, to Bjorn. She might start with their youth. Bjorn's lopsided grin at that 1968 taping, their first date walking Stockholm's Old Town, cobblestones underfoot, his guitar case bumping her hip, their early duets at folk clubs, voices intertwining like vines, how she'd blush at his compliments, how he'd tease her for overthinking lyrics. She could linger on their wedding, church bells, wildflowers, the crowd's roar, her nerves calmed by his steady hand, or the birth of Linda, Bjorn cradling their daughter, humming a tune later lost to time, moments of bliss before ABBA's ascent. The glory days might spill out, recording Dancing Queen in 1976, her voice hitting that high note as Bjorn beamed behind the glass. The 1977 Australian tour, fans screaming so loud she couldn't hear herself. The thrill of topping charts in 20 countries. A whirlwind she loved until it consumed her. The unraveling could take shape. Nights in separate hotel rooms, her pleading for a break, his insistence they couldn't stop. The silence that grew louder than their fights. The day in 1978 she packed a bag, Linda clinging to her leg, wordless. I didn't hate him, she might say. I hated what we'd become. Strangers in sequins. Singing his songs post-split, she could confess, was torture and therapy. The winner takes it all. A mirror she couldn't escape, Super Trupper, a mask she wore for the fans, her professionalism a shield, her heartbreak a fuel. Life after ABBA might unfold. Raising her kids alone. The 1983 bus crash that scarred her. The stalker who terrorized her, solo hits that flickered but never flared. Her retreat, a choice, not a defeat, while Bjorn built anew. His stability, a contrast to her fragility. Their rare meetings at Linda's plays or Peter's graduations, civil, distant, a nod to shared history. Voyage could be her pivot, returning to Polar Studios, Bjorn's voice cracking on Just a Notion, her laughter at his dad jokes, a thaw that showed her they'd survived not as lovers but as legends, his 2022 split from Lena, a footnote she'd skirt, focusing instead on their arc. Bjorn gave me music, and I gave him my heart. Both are still there in every note, she might say, praising his genius, his knack for a perfect bridge, his stubborn edits that made her better, while smiling at his quirks, his love of order, his terrible coffee. Their children, she could note, are their truest duet, Linda's warmth, Peter's quiet strength, a bond Bjorn nurtured from afar, a partnership beyond romance. This breaking of silence wouldn't be a tabloid bomb. Agnetha's too refined. It'd be a tapestry woven in her soft cadence, perhaps in Swedish, its translation a global event, her tone wistful, resolute, a woman reclaiming her voice not to wound but to heal. The world would explode, X ablaze with Agnetha Speaks, fans posting gimme, 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 clips, tears streaming at her grace, scholars dissecting her words, Mamma Mia, stream surging, Gen Z remixing through my fingers on TikTok, a cultural quake proving ABBA's grip endures. Bjorn might respond, she's always known how to cut to the core, his admiration clear, their exchange a final chord. As dusk falls on Eckerö, Agnetha might walk her fields, lighter, her truth sung at last, her silence broken, her legacy theirs, eternal in every melody, still spinning across the globe. And so, as the imagined twilight of April 6, 2025 settles over the serene expanse of Eckerö, Agnetha Faltskog stands at the edge of her farm, the faint hum of the Baltic Sea blending with the rustle of pine needles underfoot, her silver hair catching the last glints of a fading sun. Her heart unburdened at last after breaking a silence that spanned over 4 decades, a silence that once shielded her from a world too eager to claim her, now shattered by words that ripple outward like the opening chords of Waterloo did 51 years prior. Reaching every corner where ABBA's music still reigns, this moment, whether etched in a Swedish newspaper's ink, whispered into a microphone, or typed onto a screen, is less a confession than a reclamation. Agnetha stepping out of the shadow cast by her own legend to offer not just a glimpse of her life with Bjorn Ulvaeus, but a mirror for the millions who've danced, wept, and loved alongside their songs, Her voice, soft, steady, unmistakably hers, carrying the weight of a life. From the giddy rush of their 1968 meeting to the quiet ache of their 1980 parting, from the euphoria of ABBA's global conquest to the stillness of her retreat, and now to this, a gift of truth, wrapped in the grace she's always worn like a second skin. The world predictably ignites. X transforms into a digital cathedral of reaction. Hashtags like Agnetha Speaks and ABBA Forever trending as fans young and old flood the platform with snippets of "Thank you for the music" and "Lay all your love on me," some typing through tears at her candor, others marveling at how she's turned memory into melody once more, while radio stations dust off greatest hits. Vinyl spins anew in living rooms from Stockholm to Sydney, and the ABBA Voyage holograms in London glow a little brighter, their pixelated smiles echoing her words. Scholars and bloggers race to analyze, debating if she's finally forgiven Bjorn, if her gratitude outweighs her grief. Though she'd likely smile at their fervor, knowing the answers live not in dissection, but in the songs themselves. Those timeless artifacts of a love that burned bright, then dimmed, yet never truly faded. Bjorn, ever the measured counterpoint, might sit in his own Stockholm haven, reading her statement with a nod, perhaps a wry chuckle at her gentle jabs. His coffee, his stubbornness, his response a simple, "She said it all, and beautifully." A harmony to her solo, their dialogue a closing note to a symphony that's played for half a century. For Agnetha, this isn't about rewriting history or settling scores. It's about release. About honoring what they built, the music, the children, the memories, and letting go of the weight she's carried. A burden lifted as she walks back to her house, past the stables, the dogs bounding at her heels, the sky deepening to indigo, her silhouette small against the vastness, yet towering in the hearts of those who hear her. This breaking of silence in its imagined splendor reaffirms ABBA's alchemy. Two souls, once entwined, forever linked by sound, their story a testament to love's complexity, art's endurance, and time's quiet mercy. And as the final echoes of her words settle, the world spins on, their songs spinning with it, eternal, unbroken, a legacy that needs no more silence, only the freedom to sing.